Throughout history, some empires did not rise only through battles, but through trade, sea power, and strategy. The British Empire is one of the most powerful examples of this. From a small island nation, Britain slowly expanded its influence and laid the foundation for what would become the largest empire the world had ever seen. Today we will explore how the early British Empire began and what factors turned England into a global power. Before the 1500s, England was not a major world power. Spain and Portugal dominated global exploration and controlled most of the important trade routes. England, by comparison, was economically weaker and politically less influential. However, English leaders began to understand that global trade and naval strength were the keys to wealth and power in the modern world. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, England invested heavily in its navy. Ships were no longer built only for war, but also for long-distance trade and exploration. English sailors began traveling across the Atlantic and into the Indian Ocean, reaching Africa, the Americas, and Asia. Control of the seas allowed England to protect its trade routes and challenge stronger European rivals. In the year 1600, England created the East India Company. At first, it was simply a trading company focused on spices, silk, cotton, and tea. Over time, however, the company gained enormous power. It formed its own army, controlled territory, and influenced local politics, especially in India. This marked a turning point where business interests and imperial ambition became connected. Britain began establishing colonies across the world: North America, the Caribbean parts of Africa, coastal regions of India. The colonies provided raw materials, while Britain sold finished goods back to them. This system made Britain wealthier and increased its global influence. The British Empire did not grow through trade alone. Military conflicts played a major role. Britain fought naval wars against Spain and later against France, competing for control of overseas territories. Each victory strengthened Britain's position and weakened its rivals. By the early 1700s, Britain had become a true global power. It controlled important trade routes, maintained the strongest navy in Europe, and benefited economically from its colonies. This early expansion created the foundation for the massive British Empire that followed. Trade was the backbone of the early British Empire. Britain focused on importing valuable raw materials and exporting finished goods at higher prices. This trade system generated massive wealth, which was reinvested into ships, weapons, and expansion. Economic strength became Britain's greatest advantage. As Britain moved toward industrial development, it gained a technological edge over many regions. Factories increased production speed, allowing Britain to dominate global markets. This industrial growth supported imperial expansion and strengthened Britain's economic control. Britain did not rule only by force. It introduced administrative systems, taxation, and laws to manage its colonies efficiently. Local elites were often included in governance, which helped Britain maintain control with fewer troops. British influence extended beyond politics and trade. English language, education systems, and legal frameworks spread across many colonies. These cultural elements created long-lasting effects that continue to shape former colonies today. Not everyone accepted British rule. Local resistance, rebellions, and protests emerged in many regions. Although Britain suppressed most early resistance, these movements planted the seeds for future independence struggles. The early British Empire brought wealth to Britain, but it also caused suffering in colonized regions. Forced labor, exploitation, and economic imbalance affected millions of people. Understanding empire requires acknowledging both power and pain. By the 18th century, Britain influenced global politics, trade, and diplomacy. Decisions made in London affected people across continents. This global authority defined Britain's position as a world leader. The early empire was only the beginning. Later expansions in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific transformed Britain into the largest empire in history. The systems built in the early phase made later expansion possible. The rise of the British Empire teaches us how trade, technology, and strategy can shape global history. It reminds us that empires are complex, built on ambition, innovation, and control, but also resistance and human cost. One of the most important reasons behind Britain's early success was its focus on naval technology. British shipbuilders continuously improved ship design, making vessels faster, stronger, and capable of long ocean journeys. Better navigation tools and improved maps allowed British sailors to travel farther and return safely. This technological advantage helped Britain protect trade routes and defeat rival naval powers. Britain did not rely only on military force. It often formed alliances with local rulers and kingdoms to secure trade and political influence. By supporting certain leaders, Britain gained access to ports, resources, and strategic locations. These alliances reduced the cost of direct rule and made expansion easier and more efficient. The early British Empire was built on systematic extraction of resources. Colonies supplied raw materials such as cotton, sugar, and spices, which were processed in Britain and sold at higher prices. This unequal economic relationship weakened local industries and colonies while enriching Britain. Over time, this system created long-lasting economic dependence. Britain invested heavily in communication systems to manage its growing empire. Fast ships, organized postal networks, and detailed reports from colonial officials allowed the government to make informed decisions. Controlling information helped Britain respond quickly to threats and maintain authority over distant territories. The early British Empire reshaped global history in ways still visible today. Modern trade systems, political borders, and legal institutions in many countries trace their roots back to British rule. While the empire eventually declined, its early foundations left a deep and lasting impact on the modern world. The rise of the early British Empire was not accidental. It was the result of planning, trade, naval power, and ambition. Understanding this early phase helps us understand how Britain came to dominate global history for centuries. It also reminds us that empires are shaped not only by strength, but by decisions whose effects last far beyond their own time. The legacy of the early British Empire continues to influence the modern world today. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel.